Hello and welcome to our YouTube show, The Biotech Shield, where IT security meets science and where we provide IT insights for the biotech industry. I am your host, Fernando Leon, and the title of today's show, The Delay That Destroys Biotech. All right, let's get this show started. Let's not hesitate. If you don't know how long a breach goes undetected in your IT environment, well, you've already lost. You've actually lost control because in biotech, attackers aren't trying to break your systems. They're trying to live inside of them quietly and for long extended periods of time, for months. And by the time you discover them, the damage is already done. So today we're going to talk about what really happens during those silent months and why most firms don't see it coming. Let's start with something uncomfortable. Most biotech firms think a breach begins when it's detected, but that's not the case. That's just the moment you finally discover it occurred. The breach itself likely started months earlier, long before alerts, long before investigations, long before leadership is even aware something is wrong. And here's the big problem. By the time you detect it, the attacker has already probably, learned your environment, identified your critical systems, mapped out your people and their access levels, located your most valuable intellectual property, or IP. So here's the real question. Here's the real question that, it isn't did we get breached? It's more of how long have they been inside? And for most organizations, that answer is deeply uncomfortable. So let's address the core issue directly. The hidden timeline no one talks about. How long do biotech breaches typically go undetected? In many environments, analysts say it ranges from 150 to 200 days, sometimes even longer. That's disturbing. Now think about that. 6 months of silent access. 6 months where someone could be watching your systems, your research, your communications, your strategy. And here's what makes biotech different, because your industry is very different. It's not like any other, like manufacturing. This isn't just about financial data. This is about preclinical research, trial data, proprietary formulas, partnership discussions, patent timing. This is the lifeblood of your company. And during those months, attackers aren't rushing, they're waiting. So let me paint a picture here. Let's go over what actually happens during those months. A researcher logs in from a remote location. I've been there. Credentials are compromised, but nothing breaks. No alarms, no loud noises of somebody breaking the door down. Now, this attacker now has access. Day 1, nothing happens. Day 10, they begin to explore. Day 30, they escalate privileges. Day 60, they begin identifying where sensitive data lives. Day 120, they quietly extract small amounts of information. Day 180, they have what they came for. No ransomware, no shutdown, no dramatic event. Just quiet, methodical extraction. And the organization, still operating normally, still confident, still unaware. Now, let's connect this to your environment because biotech firms are uniquely exposed. Biotech firms are built for innovation, not surveillance, right? You have distributed research teams, cloud-based collaboration platforms, third-party labs and vendors, high-speed data sharing. All of this is necessary, but it creates something attackers love: complexity without centralized visibility. And complexity slows detection. Because when data moves across, let's say endpoints, cloud systems, external partners, it becomes harder to see what's normal and what's not. Attackers know this. This is where I'm going to challenge the C-suite directly, even IT management. You have to be challenged here, because many biotech firms believe they are secure because, well, they passed a compliance audit. They have endpoint protection deployed. Their IT team is managing alerts, but to be honest, none of that guarantees detection. Let me say that again. None of that guarantees you'll see a breach early. Compliance doesn't equal visibility. Tools don't equal insight. And internal teams, no matter how capable, no matter how talented, are rarely structured for 24/7 threat detection. So, here's the real question. Are you secure, or are you assuming you are? Because those are two very different realities. Now let's talk about consequences, not the obvious ones, not system downtime, not IT recovery, the real consequences, because they don't show up immediately. They show up later. A delayed funding round because risk was uncovered. A partnership that quietly falls apart. Intellectual property that shows up somewhere else. A competitor moving faster than expected. Regulatory scrutiny tied to data integrity. And here's the toughest part. You may never be able to prove exactly what was taken. Only that something feels off. And by then, the damage isn't technical. It's strategic. Here's the assumption that puts firms at risk. If something was wrong, we would know. That belief is dangerous. It's risky because modern attacks are designed specifically to avoid detection. They're not triggering alarms. They don't disrupt operations. They blend in. So, if your visibility depends on users reporting issues, systems breaking, alerts reaching a threshold, you're not detecting threats. You're waiting for them to become obvious. And in biotech, obvious, sorry to say, is too late. Now, this is where the mindset you got to make that shift. You got to pivot. Security is not about prevention. It's about time. Specifically, how quickly can you detect something that shouldn't be happening? Because, let me be honest, every hour, minutes matters. Every day matters. Every month matters. That's exposure. So instead of asking, are we protected? The better question is, how long could someone operate inside our environment without us knowing? That's the real question leadership should be asking. So let's be clear. Internal IT teams can't solve this alone. This is not a criticism of internal IT teams. They're essential. They have their role. They have their objectives. But they are not structured for 24/7 monitoring, threat correlation across systems, real-time investigation, 24/7 response, meaning, hey, who's looking at alerts, potential threats on Christmas morning? Because your IT team is focused on uptime, support, your infrastructure, and that's exactly what they should be doing. But threat detection, that's a whole different animal, different discipline, a different function, a different level of focus. And without it, detection will be slow. The firms that are getting ahead of this aren't just buying tools. They're changing their approach. They're moving toward 24/7 visibility across endpoints and data, real-time monitoring of behavior, not just looking at alerts, rapid investigation of anomalies, dedicated teams focused on detection, not just response. They understand something critical. You can't stop every threat, but you can control how long it stays on your network. And that changes everything. Now, here's the question you need to answer today. So let me bring this back to you. The C-suite, IT management, directors of IT, directors of security. If an attacker gained access to your environment today, would you know within hours, within minutes, or months, weeks? Because that answer defines your risk. Not your tools, not your compliance status, not your assumptions, your detection time. And if you don't know that answer, that's a huge problem. So here's my final perspective. This is about control. This isn't about fear mongering. It's about control. Control over your IP or intellectual property, your research timelines, your partnerships, your future valuation. Because once an attack is inside, or once an attacker gets control, control starts to shift quietly until one day you realize you didn't lose it all at once. You lost it over time. If you can't confidently say you would detect a breach in hours, not months, then the exposure isn't theoretical. It's already there. This isn't just a cybersecurity issue. It's a business risk that impacts everything you're building. And if you're ready to take control of that visibility, it may be time to rethink how your environment is being monitored before someone else defines the outcome for you. Now, if you found this valuable, subscribe for more biotech specific cybersecurity insights. I share what I see on the front lines, from threat trends to protection strategies that actually work. Don't wait for the breach report to hit your desk. Stay ahead of the cyber threats. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more on cybersecurity and the biotech industry. Like, share, or leave us a comment.